Welcome back to Yellowstone Valley Tech. Now, over the last couple of videos, we've been taking a look at the performance both out of the box and overclocked of the Radeon RX 570. Now, while we saw some alright numbers out of the box, we saw some pretty decent improvements once we overclocked it. Now, if you haven't seen those videos, please go back and watch those because it'll not only give you an idea of what the card is capable of, but it'll also kind of give you an idea of what kind of system it's currently housed in. TLDR, the specs are down in the description below.
We will be looking at 5 titles this week, covering World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth, Grand Theft Auto 5, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Strange Brigade, and Star Control Origins. The last 3 titles were included with the purchase of this RX 570, so I wanted to see how they all played with the card. As with the synthetics, I completed 3 different runs with each title and averaged the results for this video. Each run was done with actual gameplay spanning a 5-minute period using either Fraps or MSI Afterburner. I'll talk about why in a few moments. Starting off with World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth at 1080p with the graphics preset number 7. I ran 3 BFA dungeon runs with my level 120 druid and average results. Now, the reason that I only ran the dungeons and didn't record anything from the main faction hub is because no matter what, the hub cities will always drop performance due to population density and other factors. Now, back to the numbers. Now, we see with this particular game content run that we are getting an average of 62 FPS with a 1% low of 31, giving us a pretty decent experience. Now, during heavy ad pulls or a frantic boss fight, it would hiccup a bit, and you can feel that with the 0.1 lows of 14 FPS. Overall, the game was quite playable, even in the major cities where I saw an average of roughly 40%. It was not a bad experience at all. Moving over to Grand Theft Auto 5 using 1080p with a mix of medium and high settings. I went from CJ's auntie's house to the downtown area where I grabbed 3 stars, and then finally to Trevor's house out in the boonies with a shootout to cap it all off. Now, these runs lasted 5 minutes each. On average, I saw 36 FPS with a 1% low of 22 FPS and 17 FPS at the 0.1%. Overall, I enjoyed the experience, but I'll probably be lowering the settings to get a bit higher frame rate. Continuing into the game bundle included with the RX 570, we're going to start off with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This game does not like this system. Playing at 1080p using the low preset, we see an unplayable average of 21 FPS, 1% lows at 12 FPS, and 0.1% sitting at 10 FPS. Running from the Temple of Zeus and Sami to Kleptos Bay was choppy, annoying, but surprisingly, I did not die at all in combat with guards or the random wolves roaming the island. However, the frame rates are far from playable, even if you don't mind that cinematic look. For now, I'll be staying away from this title. Next up, we look at Star Control Origins. Using the good quality preset, we see an average of 50 FPS with 25 FPS at the 1% and 7 FPS at the 0.1%. Now, the only real issue I noticed was when transitioning into combat or when first being dropped onto a new planet. However, within a second or two, the game caught up and no real penalty was felt. Now, during this title's benchmark process, we started on a planet, drove around, killed some predators, blew up boulders, and then we got picked up, head for hyperspace, and then we end back in the Sol system, hit the training facility to run 3 practice battles. Again, each run lasts 5 minutes. Finally, we dive into quite the interesting title, Strange Brigade. Now, this third-person shooter is actually a lot of fun for the short time that I spent with it. I do plan on getting a lot more time into this title. Now, as you can guess, it was very playable at 1080p using a mixture of medium and high settings. Playing through the first story mission solo for 5 minutes per run, I could not get Fraps to work. But with stubborn persistence, I was able to get Afterburner to properly display the average FPS, but even it would not give me the 1% and 0.1% lows. So all I can give you is the average FPS and my experience. I never had a bad enough hiccup for the game to stutter, or cause any timing or accuracy issues for that matter. Surprisingly, this title was being reported at 116 FPS average with my system. Now, I have to say, it was a very smooth experience, but I will be keeping a close eye on the performance moving forward just to make sure it wasn't a fluke.
There you have it, guys. We saw some alright performance there in some of the games. Now, Assassin's Creed, that was unplayable. But Strange Brigade, that was the one that really piqued my interest. I don't know if it was really that high. I can only go by what it told me, right? So, according to Afterburner, that's what we got. But, I'm curious to see what it'll actually do once we get this card into a more modern platform. Well, that's going to be it for this week, guys. Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. If not, you certainly know what to do. Get subscribed to the channel to enjoy more content coming at you relatively soon. And if you really enjoy our work, please consider supporting us on Patreon. That'll be linked down below, along with our merch store, where you can pick up some t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, all sorts of good stuff. Well, again, thanks for watching. I'm your host, Andrew, and we'll see you next time.